Table Talk with Brenda Perryman is brought to you by Livingston Family Dentistry.
Livingston Family Dentistry knows that good dental care ensures overall wellness, and healthy teeth and gums can perfect your smile. With over 30 years of experience, Dr. Ronald and Dr. Blake Livingston take the time to explain every treatment. Their modern office and friendly staff are committed to making you feel comfortable, informed, and satisfied. Located at 13724 Woodward in Highland Park, call now 313-883-3050. If your teeth are not becoming to you,
then you should be coming to us.
Oh, Table Talk is on. Good morning and welcome to Table Talk with Brenda Perryman. I am so excited about this show. Even though, we talk news and social issues and everything, but it seems like things change so much. I mean, day to day. But let's have the panel introduce themselves.
Good morning, Daryl Buchanan.
Good morning. Tell me something about yourself.
I'm a community activist servant.
A public servant, husband, father. Oh, do you want us to say that?
That's fine.
Oh, okay.
That's who I am.
Okay. I'm Cheryl Ajamu, founder and CEO of the Ajamu Group. We produce the Multicultural Media Luncheon during the Detroit Auto Show.
Okay.
And Jerome Buffington, Business Development Manager for Michigan Community Visiting Nurses Association.
And among other things, he's out and about. He's out and about and around. Listen, one of the first headlines, it says, I took it from 2 days ago or so, because it said John Conyers has decided that he's going to retire, and he would like to nominate his son to take his place, John Conyers III. Thoughts? Come on, guys. Are you scared?
I'll start first. I thought it was ridiculous, to be honest with you, because his son has no political experience. If he wanted his son to take his place, I believe he should start grooming him at some point in time where he would know exactly what that office entails, as well as have the resume built to make people feel that he is capable of handling that job. It's very important, especially now in the climate that we're in politically around the U.S. and the Democrats that we need in office to help and fight for us and the things that we need.
I mean, and there's so many things that we need. And also, you were saying he did not have the credentials. It's like, in a way, people didn't really know about him. And I have been saying for years on this show that I thought that he should have been grooming somebody. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's what you have to do. That's why people student teach, so you could groom them to carry on. Yeah. That's why we train people to groom them to carry on.
Yeah, and that, I think I mentioned that, in the past, on the show that, we don't do a good enough job of grooming, future leadership. And when those leaders are gone, I mean, it's almost like they feel like they're going to live forever. I mean, your legacy may live forever, but you're not. And so somebody has to be able to step in and, pick up, the mantle, once you've, decided to step aside. That's important.
I think some of that, too, is just the person not wanting to let go. Sometimes it's hard for them. I'm sure it's very hard for him to walk away from that. Just like it would be like if a minister had preached at a church or had a church for 50, 60 years and he realized that he really needs to step down. He may not do it, even though he knows he needs to do it. It's just a part of them that probably feels like, I can't let it go.
But at 88, you have to know that there's going to be some physical, limitations.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you can't tell me that he didn't experience any of that. I mean,
I'm sure he had.
I'm not 88, and I'm feeling some physical limitations that would stop me, from trying to, and
flying back and forth across the country.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're ever in the airport on Monday or Friday, and you're going to run into our representatives going to and coming back from Washington D.C. So, you know, that's got to be a tremendous grind on you over time. So,
Yeah, and I don't even just contribute it to him. I contribute to the leadership in Detroit, period, in regards to a lack of grooming successors.
Yeah, no doubt,
I kind
no
of
doubt.
equated to
Absolutely.
Actually, I thought it was kind of a bit of entitlement ensue when he said, you know, I'd like for my son to take my place, but without him ever having to do anything to earn that spot. I thought that sounded a little bit entitled to me. And then also I equated to, say you have a doctor and he has a booming practice. And you say, oh, I want my son to take over, but your son didn't go to medical school.
Right.
Yeah.
Your son hasn't practiced, has never seen a patient.
Right.
It's like people don't, you don't know, or a lot of people don't know that John Conyers was a labor lawyer, prior to, going into Congress. So he had the background in, in the law, so that his effectiveness as a legislator, was unmatched, especially for the times that we needed him.
If you want to call and chime in, you could call us at 313-868-0342, 868-0351, or 868-4336. Now, Sander Levin is retiring,
His son is.
and his son has already, I don't know how much training his son has had, but he's already put his name in, and the Levin name is so strong because of Carl and Sander, brothers who ran.
Yeah, but it didn't help him before, because he ran for public office here before, when he didn't grow up here. I mean, he grew up in Maryland, because his father was, basically had the family based out of there, because that's where he was the majority of the time. So when he tried to run before, it didn't work for him, because, a lot of people said, hey, you're not even from here.
Oh, you're talking about who?
Levin's son.
Oh, his son. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Andy
yeah.
Levin.
Andy Levin,
Yeah,
right.
I mean, he ran for public office before.
But you have to be, people figure it out sometimes, but Ian Conyers has already said that he wants to run for John Conyers' seat.
And he has
And-
more credentials.
Well, yeah, but he just came back.
Yes, he did. But, and when I say, develop a resume, he's done some things in Washington.
Right.
He's also
Right.
came back and ran for state senator.
And he is.
And he's been, our state senator for, what, a year or two now?
It's been that long?
Yes.
I think it's been maybe a year.
And I watched his campaign when he actually was campaigning for that office. He did a really good job on the ground. He actually came by my house, I'd say 2 to 3 times.
Oh,
knocking
that's
on the door
great.
himself.
That's great.
Which I really liked, just to see him out and putting in the work to get the
Well,
position
I
that he
think
wanted.
that is so important, and it's funny because I remember, the bone of contention here in the city is the Secretary of, what is she, clerk,
City
the
clerk.
city
City clerk,
clerk
yeah.
situation, and how Garland Gilchrist, he went to so many homes. He went and knocked on doors. I mean, a lady in my water aerobics class said he came in and sat for an hour and talked to her, and he had galvanized quite a few people for this being his first time running. And right now they're in the midst of a recount, and some of the ballots, the absentees couldn't be
Couldn't be
recounted,
counted.
which it sounds really kind of suspicious.
Yeah. I read that the other day too, and those were some of the points that he was bringing up in his campaign, and then to have those same issues reappear in the election, that he was running for.
And the same week that the city clerk has asked for a raise. She's
Well,
and she should get a,
I
whoever
will
has
say,
the job
I'm
should
not
make
a-
more money.
I'm not against her asking for a raise, just for the simple fact when you look at what the city clerk is being paid in Grand Rapids, when
Right.
you look at other city clerks around the state, she has the largest district, and it's not even comparable. I think one was making 90,000. The
Oh, I
clerk in
agree-
Grand Rapids was
I
making
agree with-
103,000 with.
I'm not disagreeing
less
with
than
you.
half.
I'm just saying this to me,
Might not
sometimes
been the
you
right
could ask,
time.
yeah, it was a bad week to ask for that, with all this that's going on, and people are wondering how the boxes got open.
Yeah.
I mean, they say it looked like somebody may have thrown a box down the stair and it opened, so they can't be counted. And that's really kind of, this is the second straight time we couldn't have votes counted.
And that could
Recount.
help him quite a bit, because I know that he won at the polls. It was absentee ballots that actually she won. So if you have 2 to 3, maybe 4 districts, four precincts that aren't counted, that could up his numbers and lower hers.
Right, right. Well, the thing with, I'm going to get back to John Conyers, is the thing about his son hasn't lived here all the time either, right?
I think he's got a residency in L.A.
Yeah, California.
Yeah,
Yeah, because he does some things out there, and they said he was dealing with hedge funds and stuff like that too, and he's a rapper.
a rapping hedge fund.
Yeah,
I don't know. How do you? What was
Multi-talented. He's
Hey,
multi-talented.
maybe
That's what it is.
multi-talented, multi-talented.
I'm not,
Okay.
I'm not gonna knock his hustle. That's
That's an interesting combination.
But-
I never.
Right, it's an
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
combination, but they were talking, what should we do about all this legacy stuff? I mean, Daron, you have a beautiful child, and when she grows up, maybe she wants to, if you held public office, which you might run again, you'd want her, if she's a lawyer, she'd take your place and stuff.
I would hope that I would have the foresight to say, hey, you might want to start at this position and work your way up. Just like I'm trying to remember the man's name. He owns a big company, and he was saying how his son had to. No, it was was it the Dolphins? I think it was the owner of the Dolphins.
Oh yeah, I heard about
And
that.
the football player was
Miami Dolphins?
He didn't know that the guy in the
owner's
locker
son
room
was the
picking up the balls and jerseys and things of that sort.
mopping and all kind of stuff.
He was the owner's son.
Yeah.
And the owner had him work his way up so that he would learn every job there was to have.
Yeah.
So he'd have an appreciation for those people that worked under him, as well as know what their responsibilities were, so that when his time came to lead that team
Yeah.
and to run it, he knew the
Everything.
ins and outs of what needed to be done.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you have to do. I don't think you can buy your kid a car, give your kid your car, without them having the training, to know how to drive it, to know how to appreciate it. Hey, this car needs the oil change. This is where you fill the car up. You have to rotate the tires. You have to take your car in to be serviced. You can't just give it to them.
Do you think it's sometimes, you made me think about this when you were talking about age and people don't live forever. Do you think that people were just in the city were just kind of hanging on to the fact that they were used to him being a congressman and they didn't worry about how effective he was?
I think it was that, and then it was another thing. The Congress runs on seniority. So the more years that you have, the higher position that you hold within
Right.
Congress. And the Democrats needed him there because he had that seniority to help with some of the votes.
Yeah, but even some of the younger Democrats were clamoring, for that position. So they were also, in favor of moving him out of there. And I was kind of surprised at the Congressional Black Caucus and how they responded, in asking him to stand down. But I think a lot of it has to do with just the times that we're in right now. And you look at the Democrats are trying to maintain the moral high ground, as we go through all
Yeah.
these, sexual innuendos and things that are going on. So how do you maintain that moral high ground when, and you know how it is. They'll just say, well, what about him? Or what about him?
Well, I have
So,
a problem with that, too.
I have
Well,
a
we're
problem
gonna
with it,
we're gonna
but-
talk about that.
I have a big
I
problem
know
with
that we're gonna lead into that. We have a call. Good morning, Tyrone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
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 I heard someone say John Conyers' legacy, and I went over it, and let me tell you what I discovered. In 53 years, John Conyers only introduced one bill, and that was in '68, and that was to have Martin Luther King as a birthday as a federal holiday. And Reagan signed it in '83. Other than that, I don't see a legacy. I looked at, he kept talking about reparation and wanted to know impact of slavery, but he never really introduced it. And he did take part in the where women protect women from violence. He didn't write that bill, but he did. So other than that, if you're talking about a political career that really did nothing for Detroit, would be John Conyers. When you look at the bills he introduced, which I said was only one, and he just made a paycheck. To me, I don't see a hell of a nothing. Because I'm looking at not his personality, I'm looking at his record as a congressman, and it really is pitiful.
Well,
So do you all see another legacy when it's come to his work? I'm talking about what did he do? I'm hearing all this about John Conyers, and I checked all his records from 1964 when he went into Congress in 64, 65, all the way up to December this year when he resigned. I just don't see a person to be there 53 years and introduce one bill.
okay, thank you. I've heard that several times this week.
Yes.
Yes.
What y'all tell me? What do you all see as his legacy?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, and you bring up a valid point, because everything that's done is not always out front. Okay, you look at appropriations bills and things of that nature, and then what's coming back to Detroit in the form of appropriations based on, him having input on the negotiation of that bill. So you don't see that directly, so you may not see the name on there all the time. But the other thing is that as the senior member of the House Judiciary Committee, he was also significant in the Watergate investigation that led to, the Nixon
I
resignation.
think he was one of the first ones to call for Nixon's resignation, and also to
Okay.
what is it, to kick him out, actually.
Well, my producer just handed me legislation sponsored or co-sponsored by John Conyers Jr. And as far as bills, to provide the provision of the Medicare program, hospital outpatient prospective payment, and ambulatory surgical center, payment systems and quality reporting, programs final regulations. This is one bill. And relating to changes in the payment amount for certain drugs and biologicals purchased under the 340B drug discount program shall have no force or effect or for other purposes. Promoting human rights by ending Israeli military detention of Palestinian children's acts. There's some other acts here.
So
Brent.
I mean, that proves the point that, a lot of times legislation isn't necessarily proposed, but just in your relationships in Congress and being able to support.
Police Accountability Act of 2017, he was a co-sponsor of that. Community Sponsor Partnerships and Education Act. And, wow, here's a bill to block the implementation of certain presidential actions that restrict individuals from certain countries from entering the United States. Well, he's kind of been gun safety, he's co-sponsored that, safe justice. Now, everything did not, pass, but Public Safety and Second Amendment Rights Protection Act, Restoring Identity and Dignity Act, Congressional Sexual Harassment Training Act.
Ironic, isn't it?
Well, let me say this. He is innocent until proven guilty.
I agree. Well, and that's what people are complaining about, that he did not go through the due process piece. But he could have been sick, and he also just tired.
Yeah.
I know I wouldn't want to go through it.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that's just the recent co-sponsorship.
That's the recent ones.
Of bills. So, if you look back throughout his entire history, I'm sure that you'll go back and see that there were
Well, he
hundreds.
was a co-founder of the Congressional Black Caucus.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are things, and everything you try to do does not get passed. I understand that.
Schoolhouse
depending on
Rock.
who's-
You remember that Schoolhouse
Schoolhouse
Rock? About,
Rock. Leadership, yeah.
how I'm
just a bill.
I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Also, I would like to talk about. I sent you something about the people who are possible contenders for his job,
A lot of
and
them.
it's a lot of them, and not all of them are black.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And his district isn't all black.
No.
So I mean, it's not. This is going to be a very contentious race, and probably a very healthy race, because I think you're going to.
I think people had to up
I
their
don't know about
game.
healthy.
Yeah.
They're going to have.
I don't know about healthy.
Why not?
The reason I say I don't think it's going to be healthy because you have a lot of people who are going to be vying for this position. You're going to have a lot of people cutting each other off in regards to support, where everything is going to be spread thin. The resources are going to be spread thin. Political backers are going to be spread thin. So people, I think, is going to be cutthroat, to be honest with you, because
And hopefully the right candidate rises to the top.
I don't know about that, because when you look at the numbers, and I've been looking at the numbers. What is it? Mayor Wild probably has the best chance just because of Westland. What is the second largest county outside of Detroit that would be voting?
I mean, in Wayne County,
Yes.
city. In Wayne County.
Most of the people that would be running more than likely are people that have run in Detroit, not so much have run for office in Westland. So people out there might not be as familiar with them unless it was, say, someone like the sheriff, Benny Napoleon. Unless it was someone like Benny Napoleon who has run Wayne County wide and has a name not just in Detroit. And then you look at how with the numbers, the people that are running or have run in Detroit would basically cut each other off in regards to the number of voters that come out.
Are you saying
Okay.
cancel each other out?
Yes.
Okay, and when I say it's healthy because you let them compete. I believe in the competition, and then once you get through the primary, and we have a designated candidate, then we need to get behind the candidate, and then we move forward.
Yeah, but the problem I have is okay. So with the primary, we have the primary, and then it's just one. If we took maybe the top two from the primary and then had a runoff, and you would have, two people running for that Democratic seat instead of, that person in the primary wins, and then they're the person to face the Republican challenger. You don't really have a choice because, like I said, with the numbers, the folks that have run in office in Detroit before are going to cancel out each other. Just by the numbers.
Well, some of the names that were mentioned in the paper include City Councilwoman Mary Sheffield, Council President Brenda Jones, former state reps Rashida Tlaib and Chanel Jackson, both of Detroit, State Senator Dave Kniezek, he's been on this show, of Dearborn Heights, and Coleman Young, the second, Bill Wild, Wayne County Sheriff, of course, Benny Napoleon, and Hanson Clark has already said he's going to run. He used to be a former rep. Detroit attorney Michael Gilmore has already said he's already in the race. I don't even know who
I don't
he
know
is.
who that is.
Yeah.
Okay, but in the process, don't you feel like some people need to be excluded?
Yes.
Some people you need to go through this vetting process and eliminate some some candidates.
And that's
Right.
why I said, if you had the primary where you get the top two Democratic contenders, and then you have a chance to vote for either one of those. The folks in Detroit can back the candidate that they want to back, as well as the surrounding areas, the suburbs or what have you, have the candidate that they want to support, or gives you a chance between two. It's not 20 people running for a position. The 20 people, each one of them get two, and then a person gets 5, and because they got 5, they won. You see what I'm saying?
No, I see what you're saying. So, we need to have a process where there's, some type of elimination of, people in the in this campaign prior to we get to the primary. Is that
Right.
what you're-
Right.
Right. Well, it's a lot of people, and there are people who haven't been named either. I heard someone said, well, Coleman Young should be the one who, I mean, he had that legislative job up, he has it. But then there are a lot of people who said, no, they just don't believe he's a good representative.
Yes.
Right.
Well, anytime that the people speak, okay, I think that that's healthy, and that's why I said it was healthy. I think, when you say there's going to be limited resources and things of that nature, people are going to support the person that they feel is the best candidate, okay? That's going to eliminate other people, and people will start to drop out even before you get to the election simply because they don't have the backing.
The money.
I can't believe that you're going to have, the 17, candidates all, equally, with money and resources, to pull off that campaign. So that's what you're, when I say it's healthy, that's what you're going to see.
But
Well,
then
go on.
that still doesn't mean that you're going to have the best candidate. That just means that the person with the
You
most
get the best
resources-
politician.
So we're a region where we run by name recognition.
Name recognition.
So-
We have a call. We have a call. And Yvonne, good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to your guest.
morning. Good
You know
morning.
something? Did I hear you all mention what's the man name? He ran against Kwame Kilpatrick's mother. Handsome Clark.
Handsome Clark,
Handsome
yeah.
Clark.
Yes.
He's a spoiler. Wherever you see him, trust me, he only there to set votes away from somebody else.
Really?
That's all he is. You haven't heard from him since he ran the last time against Kwame mother. He only threw out there to take votes. The man ain't gonna do nothing, just to stop votes. And as far as the Vinnie Napoleon, no. And as far as for Sheriff your daughter, no. And as far as for that lady that sit on that city council and gave DTE passed that thing for DTE so she can get that big paying job, no. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, who do you like, Yvonne? Oh, she hung up. Oh, I was just going to ask who
Very
she.
passionate.
Yes, she was.
Very passionate about it, And but go on, Daron.
I forgot what I was saying.
Oh no, but it's very real, and it even.
I was talking about the name recognition.
Right,
So
name.
it puts, the Conyers would have had the name recognition, but now you got two Conyers splitting that Conyers name.
Well, the John Conyers III has not said he was going to run, has he?
He has not. But I would think that his father wouldn't say that without them having some kind of counsel to say, hey, I'm going to step down and you're going to take over.
It's not a fiefdom, and it's not that kind of system that I just bestow
Well, they
my
talk.
office.
They
to
talk
this
about
person.
Debbie.
It doesn't work
Debbie
like that.
Dingle taking Dingle's place.
Yeah, well, but if you remember, Debbie Dingle was very, very active
Very
in
active.
Democratic politics, both locally as well as nationally. So, I mean, she had the credentials.
And some say
That's
he
the
was running
difference.
his program while he was in office.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
sometimes.
I heard. We have a quick call from Tyrone, so we could go on. Good morning again, Tyrone.
Hello?
Yes, quickly.
Yeah. I was looking at the numbers. Someone was talking about the numbers. Duggan had all that money behind him. He had all the ministers and all the political and dignitaries. They could not get out but 21% of the vote. That's counting the absentee, and only 68, there were 31,000 that's absentee, and 68,000 at the poll. And the people of Detroit seemingly have gave up on electoral politics, especially since Lansing have an autocratic type of dictatorship over Detroit that got the final say. Most people say, well, my vote don't have no conclusion. Even if I vote for a candidate, it won't work. So I think it's going to spill over into the
Well-
state. I mean, the national election, and I think the guy from Westland will walk in there because majority of the people of Detroit have gave up on electoral politics, especially since Lansing got us under total absolute dictatorship.
Okay, that's an attitude that people do have. That's one of the attitudes that people do have.
And I think that's a healthy
And
attitude,
I'm not
too.
going to talk about this all day.
Okay, now.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the point is, by having a healthy, campaign, a robust campaign, maybe we'll have somebody that'll energize the community to come out. I mean, you think about it. Kwame energized the community to come out and vote for him. Okay.
We don't have a Kwame in this race.
Well,
We don't
Not
know who's
yet.
in the
We don't
race.
know.
We don't know who's in the
So-
race. But people, like you said, you watched Ian Conyers, and he was really. He was a good speaker. He's knowledgeable. He has a knowledge base and so forth. But I've listened to the radio quite a bit this week just to kind of hear what people were saying. And like I said, a lot of them were talking about Coleman Young the second, and I don't think he has that good of a chance at all.
I don't either. And then you have Janice Winfrey, who ran last time against John Conyers. I know she just got elected to her seat, but she might have her eyes on something bigger. So,
and I think we said it here before that Garland Gilchrist's political career wasn't over either.
Well,
So,
yeah, but
I mean, you look at-
he was saying he doesn't run. He doesn't live in that district. Do you have to live in the district in order
Yes,
to
you
run?
do. You do.
He doesn't live in that
So
district.
he's in the 14th.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's in the 14th
yeah, they
district.
changed the lines. So.
Yeah. Oh, haven't they changed? They have changed the lines dramatically, and people were talking. Well, saying that Brenda Lawrence did not speak up for John Conyers. Brenda plays it safe all the time. Brenda plays it safe, so don't expect her. Now, Al Franken did resign. Well, he said he's resigning within coming weeks. Do you think, and I've heard a lot of discussion on this, and it's not that popular. I heard a woman say this morning, she was on CNN talking about he groped her. Do you know what that was? Do you know what this was? It was her, it was at Barack Obama's celebration of his victory, and she went up to Franken and said, "Could you take a picture with me?" And she said, "I had stopped smoking for 30 days and I had gained weight." And he put his arm around my waist and it kind of groped me. It was kind of tight. That's why.
So-
that is why.
So let me say right now to all the girls that I went to St. Agnes with, the girls I went to DeForest with, I apologize profusely.
Are you resigning today?
I'm not resigning, but I'm telling you right now, I didn't mean it, okay?
But that was nothing.
And we talked about this before. We said that. Now, where do you draw the line? And it.
But they were saying, I've been hearing, I am such a political junkie. I got to go into, what do they call that? When you go into a place to.
You gotta have intervention or?
Not intervention. I got to
Rehab.
dry out. Yeah, I got to dry out. But,
I go dry with Trump in office.
oh my
No,
God.
Never.
With what?
I say you're
With
not
Trump.
going to dry with
I
Trump in
know,
office.
I know. But the thing is, they were saying that, and he had a good point. He said, the irony is that here you have someone who said, talking about Trump, that he was, what he would do, assault women. He's sitting in the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Well, and again, this goes back to, the Democratic Party, again, when they go low, we go high. And so we're trying to maintain this.
That moral high ground.
That moral high
But
ground.
They are
they're
being
bringing up the
punks.
fact that Democrats did not do that when Clinton was being prosecuted.
Okay.
He wasn't
but
prosecuted
but
for
at the
multiple,
same
and he
time,
wasn't prosecuted for sexual harassment. He
It
was
was
prosecuted
lying.
for lying.
Lying.
Everything seemed to be consensual on his part.
Yeah, it's whatever is.
and even the impeachment was just ignorance or just hubris on his part, because all he had to do was say that has nothing to do with your investigation, and I'm not answering it. But no, he's going to answer it and lie. I mean, that was hubris.
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
there was no reason for that to even happen.
Right, but here it is.
So
Go on.
So are we impeaching presidents because they lied? We can do that? Is that something we can do?
Yeah, really. Well, no.
So
he
why
lied.
hasn't the procedure started yet?
No, he lied to special counsel. Remember, he lied to Ken Starr.
Trump lied to everybody.
Okay, but he hasn't been sworn in and under oath stated anything yet.
guess.
I mean, you can go on TV and say whatever you want to say. Oh, it's fake news. It's fake news. Okay, you can't say fake news
Times
to a
Man of
special
the Year.
prosecutor. You can't do that.
Yeah, but it's crazy, and I'm calling the Democrats punks. They're not fighting. They're not fighting for anything.
Well, and Ryan called me the other day, and he said that he was talking about John Conyers. He doesn't live in state, but he reads the paper every day. And but he said the Republicans have tried to legislate morality for years. Anti-abortion, anti-this, anti-that, prayer in school, all this stuff. Then all of a sudden they have a person or people who have been so immoral. Now they want to change. They want to shift.
Make it fit.
Make it
the
fit.
circumstance.
Right,
Yeah.
Cheryl. Right, Cheryl.
I mean, just the hypocrisy of that on a daily basis that's presented by the GOP is just absolutely mind blowing.
Right.
You have a president that's in office that's been married multiple times, that has multiple children by multiple women, that's been accused of sexual harassment by 16 women.
Yes.
Counting.
Has said vocally that he grabs women and kisses them and grabs them by the vagina and all of this, and this is who they back. And now they're doubling down on Roy Moore.
But even the evangelicals, those are the ones that really get me. I mean, you can get just, regular, I'll never vote for Democrat,
They're talking
Republicans,
about
but the evangelicals.
Joseph and Mary. They're talking about Joseph and Mary. They're talking about Mary was just a teenager when Joseph.
It's that Southern Baptist mindset that that they actually use the Bible to justify slavery.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it hasn't changed. They haven't changed. They're the same corrupt people that they've always been. And I say corrupt in that they misinterpret the Bible, even though they want to tell you that they're such devout Christians. Come
Right.
on, it's all a game.
But let's just quickly talk about the fact that the culture of the country has to change as far as the male-female relationship,
It's
the work
changing.
relationship.
it's changing.
But
It's
see,
changing.
I'm gonna tell you, I would sit around men at work, we'd laugh and talk, just like I sit around you all, and we just talk about a whole bunch of things. I could get into those conversations, but now it's like certain things you got to watch everything you say.
Yeah.
And do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
definitely do.
I was reading the other day where you have a lot of companies that are stopping their holiday
Christmas parties.
and things of that sort because they don't want anything to happen because everybody's on edge. I even caught myself the other day. I told a lady she looked nice. And I said, "Oh, hold on, I'm sorry. This is not
I didn't
any
mean
kind of
anything.
sexual harassment.
I didn't mean
I just
anything.
meant that you looked
I
very
didn't
nice
mean
today."
anything by it. I mean, you look nice, but I didn't say it. You look nice. Here's a note I found on the ground that said you look nice.
Are we gonna go back to
Somebody
grade?
over there said it. I just wanted to
Are we
tell
gonna
you
go
what
back
they
to
said.
grade school? We start passing notes?
Right.
that's evidence.
That
You
is.
don't want notes.
I knew
You don't
something
want
was
notes.
wrong. It wasn't wrong. Here's a correction. Hanson Clark lost to Gary Peters because the lines had changed.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm in Gary Peters' original district. I'm in his. I don't know. Yeah, I'm still in his district. Yeah, and I voted for Gary Peters. I didn't know Hanson Clark was more Detroit, but they expanded the boundaries.
And then, and if you remember, John Conyers switched because he was in the 14th, and then he switched over to the 13th. Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean, there were a lot of things that changed during that period that, kind of led to, all the, changes that we've seen.
I remember when Hanson Clark ran his first campaign, the studios were over on Woodward at the time, and he was coming through, and he was talking. I never knew what he did, but maybe he did something.
Oh, he's an attorney. He teaches at U of D.
Okay, but he was saying, well, at the time, no, this time he says that people have been asking him to run. I have heard several people say people have been asking them to run.
Everybody.
Really?
Everybody to run.
Really?
Somebody asked me to run. That doesn't mean I'm gonna do it. That doesn't make any sense. You know, if you have the ability, have
And the
finance,
qualifications.
and the qualifications to run for office, that doesn't qualify you to run
Yeah.
just because somebody asked you.
And then you have to be worried now whether somebody that you were in 8th grade with is going to come back and say you groped them.
Start
So
thinking.
it's
Better start
crazy.
thinking.
You have
What
to
did you
look
do in
back.
grade school?
Oh man, you have to look back at everything
What
now.
did you do in high school?
And I'm really concerned about male-female, interactions now. I mean, is this going to be the end of humanity?
Well,
That we're
you
so
see
worried
Harold
about-
Ford Jr. Harold
Yeah.
Ford Jr.
Right.
He was fired from his firm. He has taken himself off of NBC and MSNBC because a woman said that he chased her down, he harassed her. She has emails to the effect that he was asking her for a date and she didn't want to go out and he kept asking.
Are they?
What?
I thought that's persistence.
I know.
My wife did that.
Well, that's what didn't Michelle kind of turned Barack Obama down.
let me
He
tell you
had to
something.
beg.
My wife of 32 years told me no for 3 years before she even went out with me. Okay, so I mean, if you're not persistent, what happens? Now, that's not to say I was grabbing her. I was trying to exert any kind
Mrs.
of
Buchanan, you
physicality
have a
over
case.
her.
You have a case,
That's
Mrs.
what I'm saying,
Buchanan.
right? And 32 years later, if I had given up, all of my life would have been different right now. So, come on, man. This is.
I mean, I think it's. I hate to say it because I'm a woman, and I believe in women, but I know women too who have, when they've been rejected, have trumped up things. I have seen people get in trouble for a rejected woman.
What about the
lying.
NFL player who got fired because of a false allegation? I can't remember his name.
Oh,
There
that
was,
could be any number of people.
Yeah, really.
A false allegation?
Yeah, I think they did an investigation and someone testified. A psychiatrist said that the girl eventually admitted that she had made it. They were dating and
Oh.
then broke up. I can't think.
No, you're
yeah.
talking about,
I can't
about
think of his
actually a young man
Yeah.
who was a prospect to go into the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
In
And
Michigan.
was
in
it Michigan?
Yeah.
Really? And so, yeah.
Oh, what? I know. I heard about that.
I think it was.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Who?
Jordan Lewis. I think that's the name. So he ended up going to prison, and then
No.
no. Who was the one that the young man was charged with rape?
Oh,
went
that's
to
the
prison.
gentleman down in Virginia.
Right.
Black gentleman, white female.
Went to
And
prison,
she said that.
and
Yeah.
then she got caught, recanting on tape, and that's what they used to free him. Okay,
She ended
so
up going to Hampton on a football scholarship. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had a student that happened to, and he had been, his school had been playing, I had watched him play Notre Dame. He was player of the game. He was one of my favorite students ever at HP. And he, some woman, it was a white woman, a girl, accused him. He was found not guilty or whatever, but it ruined his life.
yeah, and I mean, where do you go, to sue to get your reputation back in the court of public opinion? I mean, there's no place to go. I mean, you cannot. A lot of times, you cannot repair that.
But I always think to myself, why would a woman right now, after 40 years, go back and say, well, this happened? And the particular woman who did Al Franken, she's a conservative and all of this stuff. She kind of did that. They wanted to get rid of him anyway. I'm not saying he was right. But some of the stuff I heard was really stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he even and he said it in his yesterday, saying that my version of what happened is quite different. But if these women felt that I made them feel this way, I apologize and things of that sort. And sometimes things can get misconstrued. Like I said, me saying a lady look nice, I've had women say that I flirted with them. And I said, well, I just told you look nice. That's not flirting. That's just me complimenting you. Nah, I can't compliment. I mean, That's
I,
me.
I kind of want to skip down to the Denzel Washington comment. We always end up talking so long on.
So much
Okay,
going on, so much going
Denzel
on.
Washington says that the prison system is not the blame for crime in the black communities. What did you think?
I mean, that is broad brushing, you know, a myriad of problems that occur in our community. I'm a cause and effect kind of person. Maybe there are no fathers at home because the fathers have been locked up. Okay, so it's cyclical. The fathers are locked up, the boys are being raised without a father, then they end up in the system, and the system goes on and on and on.
And then
Okay?
education too.
How
Yeah,
yeah.
education.
I mean,
No
all of that.
education,
Financial
subpar schools.
resources.
Right.
And the fact that, you know, prisons are now for-profit enterprises.
Yes.
Okay, come on now.
And you've had a number of judges who have been caught getting kickbacks from prisons to lock people up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for him to just, I mean, that's the oversimplification of a very, very complex problem.
Well, you remember he was a member of the Boys Club when he was coming up. He always talks to that as having helped save him. And I know many, many, many young men who grew up without a father who ended up being great young men.
I
Remember
did.
that.
I did.
Remember that. Yes,
Yeah.
you
I
did.
did.
My brother.
The numbers, I would say, is not an even number in regards to the number of young men who grew up without fathers that ended up, you know, successful as opposed to the ones that ended up getting in trouble. When you have that lack of male leadership there, it is, you know,
And it
It's
depends
something
on the male leadership, though.
yeah.
I mean,
it's
so
something missing.
this victim shaming, this victim blaming is not going to help anything. So I was really disappointed, you know, when I heard his comments because it didn't have the depth of comprehension that I thought he should have if he's going to stand up there on that podium. I mean, and we all talk about this. I mean, Colin Kaepernick, when he stood up and used his platform, he used it in a way that has actually, you know, caused a movement.
Right.
You know, for him to use his platform in that manner doesn't help. I mean, that's going back to the same thing that Bill Cosby was doing. You know, talking about the young men with their pants sagging and all
Right,
this other kind
right.
of stuff. What does that help? What does that
Right.
help?
Well, especially when people they leave the communities, and you know when you're doing better, you do leave the communities, but don't come back to those communities and say, "Look, I was in the same situation you were in." You know,
are you doing to
mentoring.
Right.
I mean, mentoring. That's a deal. That is
Well-
really a big deal.
So, and that goes back to the point that we made earlier about political mentoring.
Right.
I mean, just there is a lack of mentorship in our communities, period.
Right.
And so, on the political level, on a personal level, I mean, you need to have that kind of interaction. I mean, we used to revere, you know, the wisdom of elders, okay? And that was something that, you know, young people would want to sit down and listen. If you're going to sit there and you're going to point fingers at them all the time, why should they listen to you?
Had you ever been, I remember we used to say this, don't trust anybody over 30. Isn't that horrible? But I remember saying it, and I have to, I said, then I got 30. So.
And now I'm 30 years past
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay, funny. no, I know. But seriously, it's the mentoring. It is the mentoring that is so doggone important.
Yeah, it's critical in any aspect of your life. Like being an African American woman, we got a lot of our mentoring through the church because back then there was always some women at church that, and they did it lovingly. They would say, "You can't wear that," or "Don't sit like that," or "Don't act like that." It was minor corrections, still mentoring, but it was just different then. Now, I think if you try to say something to some people, they get offended. I think young people are a little more, not all of them, but sometimes they won't take that correction the same way. They take it as negativity instead of trying to help them.
Well, you know, sometimes I mentor former students. I got too many to mention, but one person, I didn't like her attitude change. She was experiencing this success, but she wasn't as sweet as she used to be. That there's okay, as you get successful, some people change. You should keep a lot of times your basic character. That
some
is very
humility.
important because a lot of things come back to how people perceive you personally
Right.
before they'll even listen to you.
Right.
Don't you all find that out?
Yeah.
Well, what you have to, when you establish or you engage in a mentor-mentee relationship, it's got to be some reciprocation there, okay? And young people are talked to regularly. How many people, or talked at regularly, okay? How many people are talked to? You can't just constantly just, stand there, pointing your finger and talking to them. You need to do this, you need to do that. You need to hear them.
But here's the thing. I was talking to my 11-year-old grandson the other day, and I said, so do you talk to your teachers? Not really. I said, what? I said, he said, I say hi, but that's it. And I said, my students talk to me all the time, all the time. And then I started thinking about it. I talked to my daughter. She said, well, these teachers, the particular teachers that he have, they're not, she said, I could see why he doesn't feel comfortable talking to them. I think teaching is so dang important on what you establish as your atmosphere in your classroom, the availability of you. You have to,
Kids have to feel that you care.
that you're available to them.
That the relationship is authentic. I don't know if you remember when I was on the board and I used to address on the day back, the first day back.
Oh, yeah.
And I started talking about us being a family because me coming from DePores, we always talked about the DePores family. I wanted to spread that through Southfield and have a different relationship with our young people than they were accustomed to. We started to see some change because some people started to buy into that. So
Well, it's been like that since I started teaching in '71. I mean, I don't know what it was. I wasn't trying to be hip. I wasn't trying to be all of this, but I was available.
Right.
And a part of it is availability. Real quick, that LeVar Ball took his son out of UCLA. What do you think? They say he wasn't that good anyway.
I hate the decision. I hate it just for the simple fact that you're not allowing your son, number one, to grow.
Thank you.
You're not allowing your son to get that free education.
And to meet rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he has consequences that he has to pay for, what he did. And you're kind of circumventing that. And in the same time, not only him, but his youngest son, who's still in high school. Both of them just signed with agent.
Yeah, they're on their
Really?
way. Yeah,
So
they're on
he's
their way to
ineligible
play.
to go to college now.
Yeah, they're
to
on
play
their way to
college.
play ball over in Europe or China or somewhere
And
now.
none of the European teams want them.
Right.
Oh, really?
No,
Listen, if you know that you got a problem coming, you'd
not
rather
looking
not
at-
deal with that problem. And the
Yeah.
problem is LeVar Ball.
They hit the father.
and
Yes.
the European, I did not have a problem with LeVar Ball before this. I will say that.
You
because-
didn't?
I did not. I did not because I looked at him as a marketing piece. He was marketing his son. He was boasting about his son's ability, and he was trying to get money for his son by creating some
$500
buzz
gym
around
shoes.
him because his son is quiet. His son, you never hear anything about his son saying anything. He created the media buzz around his son. I thought that was great marketing. Now, this right here is a whole nother thing because you have to be honest with yourself about your child's ability. You know if your child is on a 4th grade reading level or if your child is on a 3rd grade reading level.
Absolutely.
If your child is below average, you need to spend that extra time and get him all the help that he needs to get to proficiency. His son is not an above average basketball player.
By no stretch of the imagination. And you talked about the marketing. Okay, last night I was watching their game.
Quickly, we end up-
and every time he touched the ball, people were booing. That's your market right there.
But they're
People are
'cause he's
booing
not
every time the
producing
boy.
now.
Yeah.
They're not producing.
Well, he's
they
not-
loved him in the summer league. And they loved him in that first game.
Yeah.
But he's not living up to the expectations that
The
his
dad
his
hyped
son
up.
marketing.
But even
I mean, his father
aside,
marketing.
even aside from the playing, every time the boy touched the ball, they were booing. And those are the people that you're, going to be counting on to buy those $500 shoes that you're out here, touting right now. He's going to have a problem.
He almost had a triple double
It's
last
gonna
night,
be-
though.
Oh, he did.
and made the pass that won the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying the kid can't play. He's got some deficiencies.
Okay,
But his dad ain't
Oh,
helping him.
It's the end. I'm
Again.
sorry. Oh my God. I got to show them
We need a
something real
2-hour
quick.
show.
I know. I'm going to do a 2-hour table talk though in the
Christmas special.
I
No
am taking
Christmas
2
parties,
weeks
no
off
Christmas
this
parties.
month. Everybody, I see you next week. We're going to have a great show. Talk
Have
to
a
you
great
later.
weekend.
Have a great
Everybody,
weekend,
thank you
everybody.
guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.